So, welcome to this modern Indian history lecture series. In this lecture, we are going to take our first chapter, that is the decline of the Mughal Empire. So, generally, it is taken as a first chapter for the modern Indian history, because after that we will see the British era will come, where the science and technologies will be much more higher than our Indian one. So moving ahead to this lecture, I will request you to please like and subscribe this channel. This is a new channel, so I really need your support. Further, I request you to please go through this channel till the end so that you will have a complete picture of it. So, as the decline of Mughal Empire was marked from the death of Aurangzeb. So Aurangzeb death was happened like 1707. So it was like, before going to the death, I will hit back the historical part of the Mughal Empire, where we will see that Akbar was there, Jahangir was there, even the Shah Jahan was there. So they all applied the policy of secularism. So it was like, the secularism term means here, like in their court there was no religious discrimination. So it was like even the Hindus, Jats, Sikhs, Marathas, all were given equal respect. And if we see, they were even offered higher ranks in their empire. So Rajputs were given also higher ranks or the mansabs in their empire. So similarly, these things does not happen in the era of Aurangzeb. So Aurangzeb removed all those things, like he imposed religious tax and all, and he further the nobles were in the Mughal court. The nobles were centralized at that time, but the policies that was acquired by the Aurangzeb was completely against of the religious era. So it was like the Rajputs were not so much fond of Aurangzeb, so they were listening to the Aurangzeb. So in the case of, it was because of the fear. Okay, so all those things we will see in the medieval history. So I have just given a brief introduction for that part. So now moving ahead to the lecture, as the decline of the Mughal Empire. So the decline of the Mughal Empire will be marked by the death of the Aurangzeb. Okay, so Aurangzeb died in the year 1707, and after his death, the fight happens for the throne, who will sit on the throne, and this fight happened between the three sons of the Aurangzeb. Okay, and among those three sons, Bahadur Shah became as the victorious one, and one another name for the Bahadur Shah is Shah Alam 1, and we will see that Shah Alam 2 also in the end of the lecture. So right now, Bahadur Shah 1 became the victorious, and after the death of Aurangzeb, he was the only leader that came as a authoritative kind of thing. So but the death of the Bahadur Shah, after that we will see the decline of the empire will start, but it was marked from the death of Aurangzeb only. Okay, so first we will see Bahadur Shah 1, how Bahadur Shah 1 ruling was there, how he acquired the religious intention and secularism in his court. Okay, so as the Bahadur Shah 1 became the victorious among the fight between the three sons, and he adopted more tolerance towards the Hindu chiefs and Rajas, unlike Aurangzeb. So as I said, that Aurangzeb was not tolerance towards that was against those Hindu chiefs and Rajas. So it was like the expansion, his aim was for the expansion only, on the cost of the ill treatment to the Hindus and the other religious people. Okay, so and the kind of a strategy that is applied, he was like even he destructed the temples of the Hindus and all, and the prayers will be done to the name of Mughal Empire only. It won't be done in the name of the other gods and goddesses. So that kind of policies were there in the court of Aurangzeb. So he adopted more tolerance towards this. Bahadur Shah adopted more tolerance towards the Hindu chiefs and the Rajas, unlike Aurangzeb. No destructions of temples happened in their era. But in the beginning, he was also had a motive, had the intention to extend its empire on the cost of Rajputs. But later, his decision was considered as a foolish one, and the people were against that decision. So he reverted back whatever the states, that whatever the areas or the states he had acquired to those Rajput Rajas. So that we will see in this line. Okay, so in the beginning, as I said, he tried to gain authority to the Rajput rulers, Rajput states. Which Rajput states? Amber and the Marwar. Okay, and both these two regions are in Rajasthan only. Okay, so Amber is now right known as Amer, and Marwar is still there. So who are the two leaders? The two leaders of these two regions were, for the Amber he was Raja Jai Singh, and for the Marwar he was Ajit Singh. Okay, he was Ajit Singh. Now what he did in the beginning, he had fight rivalry with those two Rajas, and he acquired those regions successfully. And what he did, on the place of that Raja Jai Singh in Amber, he installed his younger brother Vijay Singh, and he forced Raja Ajit Singh, that was of Marwar, to submit its authority to Mughal authority. Okay, so it was the submission to Mughal authority means like he will be under the ruling of Mughals only. So he have to pay the tax and all, whatever the revenue he is earning from its region, so he has to pay that tax to Mughals. Okay, so that he did successfully, but his action was resisted by the people, by the public of that area, and it was considered to be a foolish action by him, because people were completely in the support of these two Rajas. Okay, and at last he restored these two estates. Which two estates? Amber and Marwar. Amber and Marwar, Amber right now known as Amer, as I said, and these two regions are for Rajasthan only. Okay, so he restored, he gave these two estates again back to Raja Jai Singh, which was given to his younger brother, that was Vijay Singh. So Raja Jai Singh got his own state, and Raja Ajit Singh also got his own state, that is Marwar. Okay, so this statement proves that he was not on the land of, he was not following the policy of Aurangzeb. Okay, as even the people, when the people resisted, he simply gave back to them. Okay, third point. So this statement, I will explain in this statement. First statement, this is related to the Rajput one. Now we will see what are the actions taken by the Bahadur Shah in the favor of Maratha. Okay, now in the for the aspect of Maratha, he was not that much keen, like he was not that much attracted like for the Rajputs and the Sikhs. Okay, why? What was the reason behind it? The reason behind it, the Shahu Sardar, there was a Shahu Sardar, Shahu king in the Maratha regions, and he did not recognize him as a rightful owner for the Maratha kingdom. As the recognition was not for the Maratha kingdom to Shahu, this led a fight among Tarabai. We will see these things in Maratha kingdom lecture. Just take a consideration that the fight happened, as he did not give attention to, as he did not consider Shahu as a rightful owner for the Maratha kingdom. So the fight among happened between the Tarabai and the Shahu for the supremacy of the Maratha kingdom, and this led to be continued till his life, and thus Deccan was not a peaceful area for that, and Maratha Sardars were fighting among themselves for the right ownership. Okay, so this was the condition of Maratha at the time. Okay, now we have seen the Rajputs, we have seen the Marathas, and now we will see the Sikh one. Now for the Sikh issue, the problem was created by Shah Jahan only. Shah Jahan was the main reason for a dispute of Mughals with that, the ending of the Mughal with Sikh groups and all. Why? What was the reason behind it? Because he killed Shah Jahan killed his leader because he was not accepting Islam. He assassinated, he executed the leader because he refused to accept Islam as its religion, and this caused a nuisance, this caused an issue for whole Sikh majority people, Sikh community people, and they broke war against the Mughal. So what is this? We will see here in this paragraph. Okay, so Aurangzeb captured Guru Tej Bahadur. Who is Guru Tej Bahadur? He was the ninth ruler, ninth Guru, Sikh Guru. Okay, in which in 1675, when Aurangzeb died, he died in 1707. So it is very long back issue. So in 1675, he captured Guru Tej Bahadur, who is a Sikh of the Guru, and executed him. Why? Because he refused to accept Islam. Because of his refusal to accept Islam as its religion, he executed the Guru Tej Bahadur. Now, the hereditary Guru, his son Guru Tej Bahadur, came as like, I have to take revenge of the killing for the execution of my father. Okay, so the 10th Guru, to whom we celebrate as a Guru Gobind Singh Jayantis and all. So the 10th Guru, the last Guru of the 6th, as the Guru Gobind Singh, and he was the son of Guru Tej Bahadur. Okay, he organized his followers, that Sikh followers, he organized the Sikh followers community of warrior as a Khalsa fight, that is a Khalsa groups and all. He organized this community into the Khalsa to fight against the Muslim rulers and take revenge for the father's death. Okay, but now Shah Jahan is not there. Shah Jahan has already died, 1707. Who executed his father? He is dead right now. Now Bahadur Shah is there, and Bahadur Shah wanted to consolidate, want to cooperate with those Sikh Gurus. Okay, so Bahadur Shah conciliated rebellious Sikh, the rebellious Sikh, through the making peace deal with the Guru Gobind Singh by giving him a high mansab, that is high rank in his empire. And it was okay for it. For that period, whenever he was there, it was okay for it. But what happened? Guru Gobind Singh was also killed by some Afghan invaders. And after that, the followers of the Guru Nanak Singh, Guru Gobind Singh, became rebellious and started to be against the Mughal Empire and starting attacking to the Mughal Empire. Okay, that was the issue. So in 1708, he sat on the throne in 1707. Okay, now so in 1708, Guru Gobind Singh was assassinated by an Afghan in Deccan, and now Guru Gobind Singh's student, his disciple, that is Banda Bahadur. He is Bahadur Shah. Remember the name, don't confuse. He is Bahadur Shah. The leader is Bahadur Shah. In his reign, this is happening. With Banda Bahadur. Now Banda Bahadur will come. Okay, so Banda Bahadur, a trusted disciple of Guru Gobind Singh, again continued the war against the Mughals. So it was like the peace deal happened between the Guru Gobind Singh, but as after the assassination of the Guru Gobind Singh by one Afghan Deccan, his disciple Banda Bahadur continued war against Mughals, and in this fight with the Mughals, Lohgarh was captured by Bahadur Shah. Lohgarh captured, it means like Bahadur Shah became as a winner, came as a victorious, and he captured the Lohgarh area. But later, the Sikh recovered this area from Mughal Empire. Okay, so this was for the Banda Bahadur. So the position of the state and finances was worsening. Why? Due to the reckless grants of Jagirs and the promotion, and he died in 1712, and again civil war broke out. So among the decline, so we will see the reasons of the decline as well. So I'm just going through the Rajas and all who is responsible for the decline of the Mughal Empire. So after the death of the Shah Jahan, we will see that Bahadur Shah came, who became the victorious for it, and he died in 1712. Again, he died in the 1712 with a reckless grant and Jagirs promotions. Where it means what? I will make it clear. Jagirs was that area is, let us suppose a land is divided into a small box. That small boxes will be considered as Jagirs. Okay, and the owner, the government officials who is responsible to collect tax from that Jagirs, from that land, will be called as a Jagirdar. Okay, so the state finances was poor because lots of Jagirs, that is lots of land, were given to the Jagirdars and promotions were given. Promotions given means what? Money is flowing, money is giving a lot of money, and the income is given to those officials. So it was like financial condition of the state was declining, and there was not that much large ruling time with Bahadur Shah, and he died in 1712. And the worst part of the Mughal empire was that after every empire change, the most of the empire change, civil war was breaking out. And when the civil war started to break out, it means like the empire becomes what I will say, empire will not be stable. Stability of the empire will change, will disturbed when the civil war will break out. Okay, so that was one of the conditions for the decline of the Mughal empire. Now we will see after the death of Bahadur Shah, King Jahandar Shah, the son of Bahadur Shah, will come. And before moving ahead to the lecture, I will tell that the importance of the Mughal empire after the decline of after the death of Aurangzeb, it lies completely to the whom? It lies completely to the nobles. Nobles were the real power after the death of Aurangzeb. So it was like the emperor does not have that much of power, and the wazirs that were ruling, that were the assisting the king became the more powerful. And the nobles that we call in that noble present in the court became the powerful, and they were only politicizing and everything. It was like king was just a statue and the nobles were kingmakers. Okay, among that we will see noble Zulfikar Khan, and he made King Jahandar Shah, the son of Bahadur Shah, as a next leader of the Mughal empire, that is the declining Mughal empire. Okay, so Jahandar Shah was less able son, but sat on the throne with the help of noble. As I said, like noble had the complete power for the sitting on the throne, and the king does not have that much of power. So because of the noble Jahandar Shah, his son, the Bahadur Shah's son, was able to sit on the throne with the help of him, and he loved pleasure life. He was not like that kind of ruling. He does not like he does not feel his responsibility to the people, to the empire people, to the citizens of its ruling area. So it was like he was enjoying his pleasure life. He does not bother about what is going in his empire. Okay, so the majority of the decisions and the work was done by whom? That was obviously it was done by the noble, that is the Zulfikar Khan, that is the wazir only, and he was the only that has the main power. And we will see gradually only the main power lies in the hand of wazir only, not in the king. And that was the one of the reason the decline of the Mughal empire. And the Mughal empire was so large, the centralized ruling administration completely failed, because it was not possible to control the whole empire, that the large empire, through a central connection, because it was the Aurangzeb only that was of a strong power, that was that had a strong leadership quality. Okay, and due to this the Mughal empire was ruling. Okay, so Zulfikar Khan reversed the policy of Aurangzeb. What policy of Aurangzeb? Aurangzeb was not a secular kind of personality. Remember one thing. So he believed to restore the power of the empire should have a friendly relations with the Rajputs and the Maratha Sardars. That was similar thing was done by the Bahadur Shah also, and he recognized that thing, that the Bahadur Shah was doing was the right thing, and to rule over the empire he knew he reversed the policy of Aurangzeb and wanted to make a friendly relation with the Rajput Rajas and the Maratha Sardars. So the hated jizya tax was like, if Hindu have to do some religious activities, or if you have to go to some religious place, he have to pay some tax for it. that was called as jizya tax, religious tax. That hated jizya tax was abolished by him. Who abolished? For that period, it was the noble Zulfikar Khan. Remember, Bahadur Shah did not abolish that. He was also again, he was also moving toward for the friendly relation with the other empire, but the jizya was abolished by the noble Zulfikar Khan. And Raja Jai Singh, remember, Raja Jai Singh and Ajit Singh was captured, two estates that were captured by Bahadur Shah, and ultimately when he declared that he has done a foolish activity, he gave back those two estates, those Rajas, that is Raja Jai Singh and the Ajit Singh. Again, he gave, noble Zulfikar Khan gave a special title, a higher title, a respectful title to Raja Jai Singh. What? Mirza Raja Savai. That we used to hear the name Raja Savai Jai Singh. Okay, so that Raja Jai Singh of Amber, he was given a title Mirza Raja Savai and appointed the governor of Malwa. He was appointed as a governor of Malwa. And now what was given to Ajit Singh? Ajit Singh was given a title of Maharaja, Maharaja Ajit Singh, and he was appointed as the governor of which state? Gujarat. So these two were very important place, important point, and this was seen as a respectful for them. Raja Jai Singh as a Mirza Raja Savai, and the Maharaja Ajit Singh was given a title to show that we should have a friendly relation with them. So that was the one point that that was accepted by the Zulfikar Khan, and it was for the Rajputs. Now what he has done for the Maratha? Maratha ruler was granted Chauth and the Sardeshmukhi. Chauth means like 25%, whatever the tax will be collected for the area, the 25% will be given to that ruler. So Maratha ruler was granted Chauth as well, and Sardeshmukhi. Sardeshmukhi is like extra tax, like the 10% tax and all will be given to the Maratha as well. But there was a one condition. What condition was that? The collection will be done by the Mughal Empire. So that was given by the Zulfikar Khan. Zulfikar Khan given give authority that some respectful to so friendship relation with the Rajputs as well, and so the friendship relation with the Maratha king as well. And in the Maratha king, it was like they grant Chauth and Sardeshmukhi to the Maratha king, but the collection will be done by Mughal officials only. Okay. Another thing, financial condition was poor in the Bahadur Shah. Remember. So to improve the financial condition, he checked reckless growth of Jagirs and offices. What I have said here, what I have explained, the poor condition of the state finance was because of the number of Jagirs and the promotions. Okay. Due to that, corruption was increasing. So he started to check the reckless growth of Jagirs and the offices. What is the Jagir? That is the land only. Jagirs means the land only. So Jagirs, and he started to check the land and officials and the offices for that collection of the tax. So he started to check for those things as well. One bad thing that was by the Zulfikar Khan was that only he encouraged the evil tendency of Ijara. What do you understand by Ijara? That is contract farming. What happens in that contract farming? I will explain. See what happens in the contract farming. A land will be given to middlemen. Okay, a land will be given to middlemen. Okay, and there will be king. Okay, king has said that king has asked middleman that he wants a money rupees 10 per year from this land. Okay, a contract is given to middleman to pay rupees 10 for this land A to king, to the king. Now king will not bother what money this middleman is going to collect from that land, from that peasant who belongs to a peasant. He will not bother. King is bothered to only get that money that has been written in the contract. Okay, so what middlemen used to do, they will charge rupees 100. They will charge rupees 100 from that peasant who is working on that land A, and he will give rupees 90 to king, and rupees 10 to king, and rupees 90 will be kept in his pocket. And due to this, corruption was at high. This Ijara was not encouraged. That's why it is explained as a evil tendency that was encouraged by him. Ijara was like contract farming, where he was only worried for his fixed amount to be received by middlemen. That is, the king was only, that king means like wazir only, that is the noble Zulfikar Khan. Noble Zulfikar, that is the Zulfikar Khan. Zulfikar Khan was only worried about to the fixed amount that he want to be received by this middleman. Now rest of the middlemen can take any amount from the peasants, and this led to increase the oppressions among the peasants, and this led to increase of the revolts as well. Okay, so many jealous nobles secretly worked against the Zulfikar Khan, because he was too close to the king, that is King Jahandar Shah, and he was doing all those administrative works and all. Okay, so the many nobles were started to work against the Zulfikar Khan, and the Jahandar Shah ear was filled up with the wordings against the noble Zulfikar Khan, and he also became against the Zulfikar Khan. So Jahandar, but the latter Jahandar Shah was defeated at Agra by Farrukh Siyar, his nephew, in the 1713. Remember this name, the Farrukh Siyar. It is very important for the history of decline of the Mughal Empire. Okay, so the Jahandar Shah was defeated by the Farrukh Siyar, and Farrukh Siyar was helped by the Sayyid Brothers. Sayyid Brothers was who? The another noble. So right now, as the defeat of Jahandar Shah made defeat of Zulfikar Khan, and now Zulfikar Khan and the Jahandar Shah was removed from the Mughal Empire, and Farrukh Siyar came as the new emperor. Okay, and this Farrukh Siyar was again assisted by Sayyid Brothers. Like the King Jahandar Shah was assisted by whom? Jahandar Shah was assisted by Zulfikar Khan. Similarly, this Farrukh Siyar was assisted by Sayyid Brothers. And who were Sayyid Brothers among them? Sayyid Brothers were two people, Abdullah Khan and the Hussain Ali Khan. Abdullah Khan was the elder one, and Hussain Ali Khan was the younger one. Okay, so remember these Sayyid Brothers are known as the kingmaker. King is not the powerful, kingmaker is the powerful. So Sayyid Brothers, in the history of India or in the historical context, he is known as the kingmaker. Okay, so now Farrukh Siyar owed his victory to Sayyid Brothers. Normal thing. So they were given the post of Wazir and the Mir Bakshi. Who was given the Wazir? The elder brother Abdullah Khan. Abdullah Khan was the elder one. He was given the post of Wazir, and Hussain Ali Khan, that was the younger one, was given the post of Mir Bakshi. Okay, now we will see that again the dispute will happen. Again this Farrukh Siyar will realize that Sayyid Brothers are becoming more powerful. People are giving attention to the Sayyid Brothers. Sayyid Brothers are taking major decisions for the empire, and he will seem like I am the puppet of it only. Okay, so the Sayyid Brothers adopted the policy of religious tolerance, and they believed only to rule in India is to have cooperation with all the religions, including Hindus and the Muslims. He also realized the same thing that the Jahandar Shah, that is the noble Zulfikar Khan realized. Similarly, the Bahadur Shah realized. Okay, so he also realized that to rule over the India, there is a need of the cooperation with all the religions, that is including of the Hindus and the Muslims, the majority people. Okay, so these brothers consolidated with the Jats, Rajputs and the Marathas, struggle against the Farrukh Siyar. So what happened? Sayyid Brothers found that the we have to remove Farrukh Siyar from the post, and we need some other people. They actually wanted to rule over the Pan India Empire. So Farrukh Siyar was also have some powers also. So to remove from their thrones, they consolidated with they joined hand with the other religious empire like the Jats, Rajputs and the Marathas in their struggle, and the latter the Farrukh Siyar was assassinated. Okay, Farrukh Siyar was assassinated by Sayyid Brothers with the help of the Rajas. So the Sayyid Brothers, as I said, they were also they were also in the favor of secular country. So the Sayyid Brothers abolished jizya and the pilgrimage tax, which is as I said, the religious tax, pilgrimage tax, like if some Hindu want to visit some it's a religious place, they don't have to pay any tax. Okay, so the pilgrimage tax was also revoked by him. They gave higher position in the administration to the Rajputs, princes and kings, like to the Raja Ajit Singh, Raja Jai Singh. Ajit Singh was given the title as the Maharaja, and the Jai Singh was given as the Raja Savai Jai Singh. Okay, of the Ambar, that is Amer. So the further Sahu position. Now remember, Bahadur Shah did not recognize, he had an issue with Maratha, he did not recognize the Shahu as a rightful Maratha king. Same Shahu king was given recognition by the Maratha, like the Sayyid brothers gave recognition to him as a Maratha kingdom, and he was granted with Swaraj of Shivaji and allowed to collect Chauth and Sardesh Mukhi. So it was like the Maratha was allowed by the noble Zulfikar Khan to collect tax, that is the Chauth and the Sardesh Mukhi, but it should be collected by the Mughal officials only. But now Sayyid brothers revoked that part as well, and they give completely to collect Chauth and the Sardesh Mukhi. Okay, so now the Chauth and Sardesh Mukhi will be collected by the Maratha king, and the Shahu was recognized as the king of the Maratha kingdom. So in return, there must be some return. There is nothing free in this world. So in return, Shahu agreed to support Sayyid brothers, that Mughal, in the Deccan with 15,000 standing soldiers. Okay, so in the return of that, to collect, if you are able to, if you are given grant to collect the Chauth and the Sardesh Mukhi in that region, so in that return, Shahu agreed to support to the Deccan with the 15,000 standing soldiers. Okay, but there was a tussle for the authority, as I said, tussle for authority between whom? The Sayyid brothers and the that is the Farooq Siyar. Okay, so there was a tussle between the authority Sayyid brothers and the Farooq Siyar. Influence of Sayyid brothers was increasing, which was not liked by the Farooq Siyar, and at the end 1719 Farooq Siyar was killed by the Sayyid brothers. Now mark one thing, who has been killed? King has been killed by whom? The Wazirs, and this what is that, Mir Bakshi place was killed by they killed king, and this create a fear among the empire that the person who can kill the king can do anything. Okay, so the Sayyid brother established, after that the killing of the Farooq Siyar, Sayyid brother established 3 puppets. 2 puppets were removed. Puppets means like 2 kings, but the 2 kings were assassinated, and the third one, that was the Muhammad Shah, installed, the third puppet. Why we are calling a third puppet? He was not doing anything. The king was Farooq Siyar only. Wazir is Farooq Siyar and all, but the major decision, the ruling is done by the Farooq Siyar only. The Muhammad Shah is just given a title of king. It is like a president of India. President of India does not have that power. Whatever the decision will be taken, it will be taken by the council of ministers only. That is the prime minister only. Okay, not by the president. Only the paperwork will be that the sign will be done by the president. In the same way, Muhammad Shah is like acting as a president. Okay, so they were even not allowed to meet that Muhammad Shah, that those 3 puppets that I told, the 2 puppets were killed and the third was the Muhammad Shah. The control of Sayyid brothers was that they were not even allowed to meet people, to go somewhere else without the permission of these 2 brothers. Who are the 2 brothers? That is the Abdullah Khan and the Hussain Ali Khan. Okay, so lots of conspiracy happened against the brothers, because the people were thinking that these people have killed the kings only, so they can do anything. So the lots, even the nobles were jealous, because they have a complete lots of power for the Mughal empire, and those nobles were can't see those things to the Sayyid brothers. Okay, so lots of conspiracy against happened to these brothers, and financial issues of the state was declining to the authority, that the financial issue was not improving. Okay, so further assassination of Farooq Siyar, as I said, the king assassination frightened many people, and killing of emperor led to the public revulsion against them like a traitors. They treated them as a traitors who killed the king, and they called them as a namak haram, that is not true to their salt. In Hindi it is called the namak haram, that is traitor. Okay, so the supporting of Hindus Marathas and liberals. One second, I have to pause that video. Sorry for this small glitch. So the supporting of the Hindus, Marathas and the liberal mindset was declared by the other nobles as anti-Mughal. Remember what Aurangzeb has done? Aurangzeb was against the secularism. Okay, now nobles of this empire started to that play a game against this Sayyid Brothers by telling the people that this Sayyid Brothers is against the moral of the Mughal policies. They declared Sayyid Brothers as anti-Mughals or anti-Islamic. Okay, as they are supporting Hindus, they are supporting Maratha, they are supporting Sikhs, and they are revoking all the tax and all. So it means like they are anti-Islamic and anti-Mughal. They are not following the policies of Mughal as the Shah Jahan used to do. These reasons were given to the nobles. Okay, that's what the mind was going to for the public. So further, Emperor Muhammad Shah also, and one more thing, Muhammad Shah also knew that I am a puppet of him, I don't have any power. So further, Emperor Muhammad Shah also wanted to free himself from these two brothers, and at the end both were assassinated. Like both those two brothers, that is the Sayyid brothers, that is those two brothers, that is Abdullah Khan and the Hussain Ali Khan was assassinated. Abdullah Khan, Hussain Ali Khan, okay, was assassinated by whom? Chin Quilich Khan. That will be called as a Nizamul Mulk, and later we will call as the Nizam of we will call as the first Nizam of the Hyderabad. Okay, and these Sayyid brothers were known as in history as the king makers. He used to make the king. Okay, so Nizamul Mulk became the Wazir and tried to restore the administration. Under whom he became the Wazir? Under the Muhammad Shah. He became the Wazir and tried to restore the administration. Later he decided to leave the empire as his fate because he was unable to do so. And because if I am unable to do a particular work, then it is my right to leave that work. I don't. There should not be to think like I will give a false hope to you. Instead of giving false hope, he simply said like I can't do it, and he left this empire on his fate, and he went to the Hyderabad in the Deccan, and he became the first Nizam of the Hyderabad. And his departure was considered to be symbolic for the fight of loyalty and the worship of empire. He did not do anything. He was not for the post. He was not installed on the post. He was not for the money. He left the empire on the virtue of its fate, as it was a proof of its loyalty. Okay, and this was the end of Sayyid Brothers. Okay, now we will see Nadir Shah, an Afghan invader. That was one of the main reasons that that was a disrespect that cut the nose of the Mughal Empire. How? He plundered the Mughal Empire, and in that plundered he took away the king throne along with the famous that Kohinoor diamond. Okay, so Nadir Shah, an Afghan invader, and the Ahmad Shah Abdali, that was the Nadir Shah general. After that he came to India and they plundered India completely. So Nadir Shah was attracted to India for his wealth, and he was in need for wealth as well, as he belongs to the Persian Empire. So Persian Empire was completely bankrupt with all the fights and all. It was a back history. So Nadir Shah was attracted for the India for his wealth, as the Persia was completely bankrupt, and he found further there was a fight. There was no stability in the Northern Empire. For the Mughal Empire, there was completely destruction. There was no centralized ruler. There was no unity, as the Maratha king and the Rajputs and the Sikhs, they were not united. Okay, so he found no opposition in the northwest India, and Mughal was not that united like earlier, like Aurangzeb time. So he plundered Delhi and took away the peacock throne of Shah Jahan and famous Kohinoor diamond in the 1739. Okay, so this plunder was irreparable damage to the Mughal, and this displayed the gap between the Mughals to Maratha Sardars, that they came to know that there is gaps in the Mughal rulings and all. This displayed this gap to the people. Okay, so after the death of Muhammad Shah, as Muhammad Shah is continued there, bitter rival happened between the power of hungry nobles. As you know, noble was only have the main power. So after the death of him, Ahmad Shah Abdali, again there was a destruction and there was a fight between happening with the nobles, and between that, after the death, Ahmad Shah Abdali, that was a general of the Nadir Shah, that was the general of the Nadir Shah, he again plundered Delhi and all. Okay, so repeated invasion to the north, including Delhi and Mathura between 1748 and 1767, and in 1761 he defeated Marathas in the third battle of Panipat. So the third battle of Panipat happened between the Maratha and this Ahmad Shah Abdali. Sorry, but he failed. However, he found a new Afghan kingdom. So this Ahmad Shah Abdali failed in that fight with the Maratha in the third battle of Panipat, but he founded Afghan kingdom in India, that is Afghanistan and all. So they retained Punjab as well, but soon they lost to Sikhs as well. But later the Sikhs again recovered the Punjab. So Mughal Empire ceased to exist as a pan-India empire by the 1761. So from 1707 decline happened, and by 1761 this was completely end. Almost it is end. Mughal Empire was as a pan-India empire, it was end. No Mughal empire was ruling in the pan-India empire, and it is completely restricted to the northern part, that is the Delhi part, and Delhi part was only being plundered every time, okay, by the outsider, by the foreigners. Okay, so internal rivalry between noble, and it was restricted to till kingdom of Delhi only. Now we will see that is a part, that is a small part. Okay, so battle of Buxar, that was a small part that was needed for this decline of Mughal empire. So Shah Alam II, as I've said in the starting only, I mentioned that Bahadur Shah is named as the Shah Alam I. Now the Shah Alam II at the end, I said, I have mentioned earlier only. So Shah Alam II ascended the throne in 1759 for the Mughal. Remember, by the 1761 Mughal empire was no pan-India empire. So in the 1759 Shah Alam II ascended the throne and wandered from the fear of his own Wazir. Wazir has a more power. So, and he joined Mir Qasim. So he left the empire, he left that regions, that the Mughal region, that the northern part, and he joined with the Mir Qasim of Bengal. And Mir Qasim was also Mughal only, but all those things we will see that the prayer, he left the Mughal empire, and later it was like the prayer will be done in the name of Bengal only, not the Mughal empire. So all those Shuja-ud-Dawla, that the prayer will be done, he removed Shuja-ud-Dawla, removed that prayer will be done in the name of Bengal Rajas. And also don't worry, this will in the another part of the lecture, and this will be discussed in the second chapter. Okay, so he joined with the Mir Qasim of Bengal and Shuja-ud-Dawla of Awadh in declaring war against the English East India Company, British. Now British will come, but remember, they have what? They have people only for fighting, and the other equipments, that mechanical equipments like that. Mechanical equipments like that, swords and all. But the East India Company, that the British Army, East India Company was what at the time? It was a British Army only, because the East India Company was backed by British Army in the starting. It was not treated as a private company at that time. Okay, so Awadh declared war against the East India Company, and East India Company was equipped with the technology, science and technology, so they have a very high equipment for the war, and ultimately they all were defeated by the British, defeated by the British at the Battle of Buxar, and later he returned, that is Shah Alam II, returned to Delhi under the protective arms of Marathas. The Marathas helped them to reach to the Delhi. So British occupied Delhi in 1803, and Mughal was just a political front then, and after 1759 only Mughal was ceased to keep it as a military power, as a military front. And when the British occupied Delhi, there were certain restrictions, certain tax were imposed on the Mughal as a war compensation. Those things we will see in the chapter 2. Okay, so this was all about a small introduction for the Battle of Buxar. So what was, so all those things I have explained, that who were the rulers, what were the reasons behind it. Now we will see in fact wise, in the point wise, what are the reasons behind that the decline of everything I have discussed right now. But just to summarize all those points, the causes will be mentioned. What are the causes? First thing, the empire extension became an issue for the centralized administration. It was like pan-India empire. The Shah Jahan was made like it was a pan-India empire, so extension of the empire was huge, and the control was not done as the similar like the that is, sorry, I said Shah Jahan several times, Aurangzeb. Okay, so Aurangzeb was the main effort became making as a pan-India empire, but apart after the death of Aurangzeb, there was not that much strong leaders came after it, and this huge empire became a problem for a control. Okay, so the empire extension became an issue for the centralized administration. Thus, Aurangzeb's objective of unifying entire country under one central political authority was just justifiable in theory, not in reality. Okay, so that was one of the issue for the decline of this Mughal empire, that the due to the lack of central administration was not feasible for that pan India empire, and thus it failed. It was one of the reason. Another reason, Maratha Sardars were always problem to the Mughals. Okay, and they were never taken under consideration by the Mughals. So it was like the respects was not given to the Marathas as similar like the Rajputs and all, and later their expansion in the northern weakened to the central authority, and it was widened when Nadir Shah attacked northern Delhi, that the Mughal empire, and they came to know that the Marathas came to know that Mughal are not that strong that we used to take. Okay, as the king throne was taken away, peacock throne was taken away, Shah Jahan, Kohinoor diamond was taken away. This widened the gap between the Mughals to Maratha Sardars. Okay, that is the same thing mentioned here. Okay, so later their expansion weakened to the central authority. Another point, Aurangzeb conflict with some of the Rajput estates has also had a serious consequences. The fight with the Rajput king, lack of what? When you have a fight with someone else, it was like lack of unity. So in the past, alliance with the Rajput Rajas were the main military power support for the Mughals. Before Aurangzeb, it was like the support of the Mughals, the soldiers, the military power that was supplied to the Mughals was from the Rajput Rajas were only. So the Rajputs were like the soldiers one that was strong in fighting. They had the skill of fighting. But when the Aurangzeb had a conflict with the Rajputs, so Rajput consequences means what? The military power was getting reduced, and later due to short-sighted vision of the Mughals, that is Aurangzeb, that has done extension policy made Rajputs to withdraw from its loyalty, and ultimately wars with the Rajputs weakened the empire and encouraged separation with the created the wall that created the wall between the Hindu and the Muslim, that created the separation between the Hindu and Muslim. Okay, so ultimately when you have a conflict with the Hindu Rajas, that is the Rajputs, which were expert in fighting, ultimately your military is going to be weakened. So that was one of the another reason for the fall of Mughal empire. Another one, peasantry were deeply dissatisfied because the nobles that was given a grant, that is a jagirs, to collect as much tax as they want. As we have seen that the contract farming was encouraged by this one. Contract farming was encouraged by Noble Zulfikar Khan. Okay, Ijara. Okay, so that kind of situation was created oppression among the peasants. Okay, so that was another reason. The revolt of the peasant became the another reason for the decline of Mughal empire. Another reason, Aurangzeb religious orthodoxy. So it was like he follows deeply with the Islam, and he did not give respect to the another religions. He destroyed temples of the Hindus. He imposed a tax for the Hindus' religious activities and all. So the kind of orthodoxy that he followed, that religious orthodoxy, was one of the another reason for the fall of Mughal empire, because the people were oppressed by it. The lack of unity happened in the empire. So his policy towards Hindu rulers seriously damaged the stability of Mughal emperor. The frequent fights were used to happen. So it was this reason the successor of Aurangzeb started to remove such religious taxes like jizya related with the Hindu Rajas were restored. So if we see after the death of Mughal empire, that is Aurangzeb, after 1707, all the rulers knew that if we want to rule to the whole India, we have to be a secular, we have to be a cooperation with all other religions like the Hindu, the Sikhs, the Jats and the Marathas and everyone. We have to be cooperated, we have to be united, and this was lagged in the Aurangzeb's reign. Okay, so all the other regions, the king that came after the Aurangzeb, they tried to restore those things, and they tried to remove the jizya and the other tax. This created the tax and all. This created the alienation among the Hindus and widened the gap between the upper class of the Hindus and the Muslims. So those things were happening in the upper class of the Hindus and Muslims. So because the poor people were poor people were artisans and the peasantry, and they were only responsible for the agriculture. And among the agriculture, they were already oppressed because the huge tax were being taken by them. Okay, so but later Rajput, Jats, Maratha, Sikhs did not have the champions to the Hindus. They were proved that latter, that Rajput, Jat, Maratha and Sikhs are not champions in Hindus. Like they don't have that much of control to the public. Okay, and the power and plunder were more important to them, not religious solidarity. So it was like, as the Shah Jahan was more strict to the religious orthodoxy, it was not similar to Hindu Rajas and the Sikhs. It was not seen the similar to them. Okay, so in real, neither the Muslim nor the Hindu were able to form a homogeneous society, and the upper class of both were were ruling class, and peasants, artisans were underprivileged class. So the Mughal state in Akbar, Jahangir and Shah Jahan adapted a secular state policy where Rajput Rajas were given a higher rank as well in their time. So that thing explained here. Now the another point, Aurangzeb left the empire with many problems unsolved. His death was left with many problems unsolved, and the situation was further worsened by the war of succession which followed after his death. So that happened. And what happened in the war of succession? Leaders were chosen not on the basis of their merit. It was chosen on the basis of political activity done by the nobles. Nobles had the three factions: Turani faction, Irani factions, and the Hindu faction, Hindustani faction. Okay, there were three factions in the noble. These things we will discuss in the summary part. Okay, don't worry. So emperor, so the leader did not have that much of power, and the nobles had that much of huge power. So after every emperor, and further after every death of the emperor, there was a civil war broke out, which leads to the huge loss of life and property. Military commanders were used to die. High military commanders, brave one, used to die in those fights. So thus administrative fabric was loosened. For the rulers that came were not enough to rule for pan India. There were huge control nobles over the king. So nobles had a huge control over the king. Further, few energetic nobles, brave and brilliant. So the nobles who were somewhere who were brave and brilliant as well. So they were not much interested. They were not much interested for the rule. They were like for self-service. It was like selfish one. They wanted to consume the money for self-use, self-consumption. Okay. So brave and brilliant military commanders did not benefit the empire, and they used their talent to promote their own interests rather than to solve the state and the society. Thus corruption was increased. So the corruption was the another reason for the decline of the Mughal empire. Okay, now less expansion less expansion leads to the limited Jagirs. And now as Aurangzeb died, after that there were fight happening between the empires, only the civil war. Now the expansion was reduced, and when the expansion is reduced, nobles are increasing, and nobility, the nobles were tried to make it hereditary, like the Jagirdar place, they tried to make it hereditary. Now the Jagirs are fixed, the land is fixed, but the number of nobles are increasing. The Jagirdars were increasing. Thus limited Jagirs caused huge issue in the state, and the quarrel of Jagirdars were happening, increased, and taxes were also increased, and ultimately who were facing? Peasants were facing those consequences. Peasants were completely oppressed by those acts. That leads to the oppression among them, and the aim was to get their aim was to gain only maximum income, whatever they want. If they are appointed for a short period of time, their main aim was to how much money they can collect from the peasants. They were not caring about what the peasants are going to get the money or not. They were like for the self-consumption. They were imposing huge tax for them. Okay, so this was one of the main reasons. So further, Jagirdars tried to convert their post to hereditary as well. As I've said, the further reduction of the expenditure on the maintenance of the army, which leads to the reduction of troop strength of the empire. So another one reason that nobles that is giving the tax, were giving the post of Jagirs to the people. These Jagirs, what they started their expenditure, cutting their expenditure to maintaining the troops, as they were responsible for the maintaining the troops, because they used to live in the village. They have a contact with the people. They used to hire the people from the village, and they used to train them for the military purpose. But now what they were doing, for if the training and everything is happening, they have to provide foods, equipments and all, and for providing the equipments and all, the expenditure should be there. Now what they started to do, Jagirs were like, the corruption was increased, and the expenditure was cut down. And ultimately, if you are cutting down the expenditure, it means that you are not providing the equipments, you are not providing the food to the soldiers, and ultimately the maintenance of the army leads to the poor troops, poor soldiers. Okay, so a basic cause of downfall of the Mughal Empire was that overall it could no longer satisfy the minimum needs of the population. So whatever the things I have discussed here, if we consume all those things into one thing, Mughal Empire failed to fulfill the minimum, the basic need of the population, such as if Jagirs were appointed for the fixed interval, then they wanted to extract as much revenue as they can from the Jagirs. Like if let us suppose later they tried a hereditary kind of thing, Jagirs. If in the starting, if the king is appointing them for the short period of time, they will do what? They will extract as much revenue as they can from the farmers. So that kind of things happened, and this led to dissatisfaction among the population, and this led to the decline of Mughal Empire. So and thus the people were also oppressed by they wanted to be the British. They thought like British will help them, but those things doesn't happen. We will see in the coming few lectures. So after Aurangzeb death, practice of ijara or contract farming was another evil step. As I stated, what is ijara and what is contract farming? It became common for the Jagir and Khalisa crowns. So like Jagir is like the common land, and the Khalisa crown land was like the land given to the king. Okay, as a matter of fact, oppressed peasants were not much interested in agriculture, which leads to the failure in filling the land of empire and for the luxurious life. It was like that. The amount of earning that the amount of investment that farmers were used to do in their land was less the earning, the return that they were getting, because most of the money, most of the expenditure, most of the food, most of the grains were being taken by the Jagirs. So ultimately their interest went away from the agriculture. They moved for the another business, and ultimately this lack of interest in the agriculture led to the failure of fulfilling the demand of the empire and for the luxurious life of the king. And this was another reason for the fall of Mughal Empire. Indian industries were good as compared with the other world, but they did not improve their strategy and technology like the Europeans. Yes, India have a vast number of manpower, but there was no science and technology. As the Europeans were there, Europeans were experimenting with the science. So India was dependent upon the labor intensive, that is the manpower production, where the Europeans started to production through machines. Another reason, lack of spirit, political nationalism was there. There was no nationalism kind of thoughts, wordings during that period. It was like the Rajput regions, religious texts. This is a Rajput Empire, this is a Jats Empire, this is a Sikh Empire, this is a Maratha Empire, this is a Maratha Kingdom. There was not a unity, there was not a tendency of that we are from the India, we are from the Indian kingdom. No, it was not like that. Maratha Kingdom, Rajput Kingdoms, Mughal Empire, like that. So there was a lack of sense of spirit of nationalism, was one of the main reasons for the fall of Mughal Empire. So India lacked the element of modern nation. People were loyal to the persons, tribes, caste and religions, not to the nation. Another reason, corruption, bribery, disloyalty, strong leadership, lack of a strong leadership, inefficiency, indiscipline were the main reasons overall behind the decline of Mughal, and it was declined in the 18th century, that is in the 1761. No Mughal Empire was declared as a pan-India empire, thus failed to defend the empire from the foreign aggressions as well, like the Nadir Shah, Ahmad Shah Abdali and all that, the Afghan invaders attacked the Mughal Empire and all in the northern India, the Delhi part. They took away the Kohinoor diamond as well, Shah Jahan peacock throne as well. So such attacks of Nadir Shah and Ahmad Shah Abdali weakened the Mughal Empire. Further, British became the another challenge for because they had equipped with the technology and the sciences. Okay, so I hope you have liked this video. Please like and subscribe. Your subscription is a form of payment for me. I hope if you have any doubts, if you want any on-demand video lecture, please feel free to ping on my Twitter handle. Thank you.